Have you ever noticed how pain seems endless, no matter how hard you try to resolve it? Even when life appears to be good, there's this persistent weight, as if something is always misaligned. Perhaps you've already tried everything: meditating, asking for help, pretending you don't feel anything. But the pain persists, silent and constant. Let me tell you something, even though no one has had the courage to say it yet. Much of your suffering doesn't come from outside, but from within. From parts of yourself that have been left behind, rejected. Jung summarized it perfectly. What is not brought to consciousness returns as fate. Perhaps life is showing you something valuable, but you close your eyes. You keep busy, develop addictions, form relationships just to silence the emptiness. You promise yourself it will pass, but it doesn't. Do you know why? Because pain doesn't want to be abandoned, but illuminated. This video isn't an easy self-help text. I'm not bringing phrases to make you feel better immediately, but rather an invitation to confrontation, to truth, to self-knowledge. Give me just a few minutes, and I'll show you not only why you suffer, but how you can free yourself from this cycle. Not with miracle formulas, but with perhaps today you feel like you've hit rock bottom. Maybe you're on the verge of collapse, smiling on the outside while everything inside you is crying for help. Or perhaps you've learned to live with the pain, as if it were an inseparable part of your identity. In any of these scenarios, I need to be honest. There's an uncomfortable truth you need to face. The pain continues because you haven't yet dared to go to its root. Jung spent his life exploring this shadowy territory of the psyche. He understood that the only real light comes from those who have the courage to traverse their own darkness. If you're up for this challenge with me, I promise you, something will change. What we'll reveal together can transform the way you look at yourself, your suffering, and what it means to be free. Perhaps you believe your anguish is a consequence of a difficult boss, partner, lack of recognition, or the weight of external demands. Of course, all of this weighs on you, demands from you, hurts you. But what you still need to realize, and the time has come to see, is that the deepest suffering, the kind that paralyzes and echoes in silence, is born from the estrangement from who you essentially are. Jung said that nothing is more tragic than living a life that doesn't belong to you. And at some point, that's what happened. You learned early on to adapt, to please, to fit into others' molds. And you gradually disconnected from yourself, becoming a character to avoid confrontation, a fitted piece to avoid causing trouble. You silenced your desires, suffocated your feelings, dissolved your anger, and concealed your sadness. Perhaps today you carry a pain you can't even explain. A contained pain, almost mute, but one that slowly consumes you. This is the symptom of someone disconnected from themselves, of someone who looks at their own reflection and no longer knows who they see. You've adapted to a role, frozen emotions, but your soul still feels. It manifests through anxiety, exhaustion, apathy, guilt. Emotional pain is like a car alarm that goes off when something is wrong inside. The truth is, it's not failure that really hurts, but the unrealistic expectations about who you should be. It's not loneliness. It's the emptiness of someone who has lost themselves. It's not others who cause so much pain. It's ourselves whenever we sacrifice our essence to please or belong. As long as this distance from yourself exists, any attempt at healing will be insufficient. But here lies the secret. This pain isn't there to punish you. Jung saw suffering as the beginning of true change. The pain exists to call you back home, back to yourself. This return journey begins the moment we stop running and become willing to hear what has been muffled, ignored, dormant. In the continuation, we'll explore the paradoxically dangerous and liberating force of the psyche, your shadow. It's by confronting this disowned part that we rediscover healing. If this content is making sense to you, subscribe so you don't miss the upcoming videos. We have a lot to show you. Gratitude for your support. You seek to stop suffering, but you continue waging war against symptoms, anxiety, guilt, anger, sadness, as if they were your greatest enemies. You do everything to silence them, eliminate them, hide them, but forget to look at what really matters, the root of the problem. The true enemy isn't out there. It lives within, quiet, lurking. And that's where the greatest danger lies. Carly. Jung gave a name to this denied side, the shadow. Everyone carries their own, including you. The shadow is made of everything you've repressed, hidden, or refused to see. Unconfessable desires, unaccepted emotions, disguised anger, silenced will, masked ambition, hushed fears. These are aspects you tried to bury, but they remain alive, waiting for every chance to appear. And the more you try to ignore them, the more power they gain over your life. Remember the moments when you acted in completely unexpected ways, exploded without reason, lost good opportunities through self-sabotage, pushed away loved ones without understanding why. That's the shadow manifesting itself. It invades your thoughts, distorts feelings, dictates attitudes without you noticing. Jung knew this. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Don't delude yourself thinking suffering is just bad luck or injustice. Often, it's the shadow taking control. The great challenge here is that finding your shadow requires courage. You'll have to face everything you've spent your life trying to avoid, admitting flaws, accepting impulses, looking at your darkest areas, and stopping yourself from playing the victim. The secret, however, is this. The shadow is not your enemy. It's an essential part of who you are. It just wants to be recognized, embraced, and integrated into your whole self. Jung never proposed eliminating the shadow. He taught embracing it, integrating it as a source of power, clarity, and authenticity. What you reject consumes your strength. What you integrate returns freedom. Now that you've recognized your shadow, you need to go further, knowing what to do with it. Let's talk about the path of courage, the real beginning of healing, and how to take your first step to reunite the forgotten parts of yourself. Self-knowledge doesn't end when you find your shadow. It only begins. The true watershed moment is what you do from there forward. Getting this far is already an honest achievement. You've faced your disconnection, allowed yourself to look inward, and now you're facing the greatest challenge, confrontation. Just understanding isn't enough. Healing requires movement. It demands courageous action, sometimes uncomfortable, but absolutely fundamental. Because few have the courage to traverse their own internal nights without closing their eyes, as Jung said. The path back to yourself is for the brave, and courage isn't the absence of fear, but moving forward despite feeling it. Facing the unconscious means treading dark paths where nothing is under control, stripping away the characters, ceasing to victimize yourself, and accepting that part of the suffering is born from your own choices. This is only possible with radical honesty, abandoning the old lies we tell ourselves. And how does this happen, after all, in real life? It's noticing the ignored signals from your body, the stomach that turns when you're with people you pretend to be fine with, the oppression in your chest every time you accept situations that diminish you, the profound fatigue of maintaining appearances. Each symptom is an alert from your unconscious. It's there trying to protect you, not sabotage you. You can begin this journey with simple and consistent actions. Record your dreams. Pay attention to moments when your emotions become unstable. Question patterns that repeat in your life. Whenever something disrupts your balance, stop and ask, what hidden message exists in this? The unconscious communicates through symbols and sensations, and your job now is to learn this language with curiosity and patience, willing to truly listen to yourself. Not to relieve discomfort, but to face what most needs to be seen. One of the most transformative tools is deep writing. Set aside a few minutes of your day to write without censorship, as if no one would read it. Confess your most uncomfortable feelings, admit your fears, your doubts, your hidden desires. When you put on paper what you've always hidden from yourself, these shadows lose their power to paralyze you. Another great ally in this journey is therapy, whether with a psychologist or someone qualified to help you understand the messages from your unconscious. Jung argued that the unconscious is not a garbage dump, but a living organism full of wisdom and purpose. It wants to guide you, heal you, but first needs to be listened to, free from excuses or self-sabotage. Do you really want to free yourself from suffering? Then stop running. While you run, the pain strengthens. It's only by facing it head-on, with courage, that it begins to transform. And that's when you discover the pain you fear so much is, in fact, a passage to a new level of self-knowledge and freedom. This is exactly what we'll explore in the next stage. What is the real meaning of pain in your journey? Why does it insist on returning, even when you feel you're in control? And most crucially, how can you transform this suffering into your greatest strength on the path to freedom? Are you prepared to see from another angle? Then follow me. Most people spend their lives trying to erase any discomfort. They resort to medications, immerse themselves in distractions, get lost in superficial relationships, seek quick pleasures, build a perfect facade on social media, all to numb what they feel inside. But there's a difficult truth to face. The more you try to escape pain, the stronger it becomes. Pain didn't come to be extinguished, but to be listened to. Jung saw suffering not as a failure, but as an invitation to profound change. Pain is a sign that something is misaligned within you, something that demands attention and healing. It's an urgent request from the soul. This can't go on anymore. In each pain lives a message. In each anguish, a meaning waiting for your attention. The secret lies in changing your perspective. Stop seeing pain as an enemy and start receiving it as a teacher. Think about all the major changes that have happened in your life. Did any of them arise from absolute comfort? Almost never. Chaos is the ground where new order is born. In pain, the psyche asks for rebirth. And yes, that's where genuine transformation begins. Jung said, "Suffering that is avoided is never overcome. It needs to be lived through to the end. There is no liberation without crossing through." Let's bring this topic down to everyday life. Look at that person who gives up themselves for others, saying yes when they wanted to say no, smiling to hide discomfort, trying to please everyone. Over time, anxiety emerges, exhaustion, sadness, without tangible cause. They consult specialists, follow treatments, but the emptiness persists because nothing external erases the suffering of a life out of step with inner truth. Another classic case, someone who repeats painful cycles in relationships, always feeling rejected, never good enough, unconsciously choosing people who cannot truly love. This suffering isn't bad luck. It's a reflection, a pattern, an old story asking for recognition and healing. As long as you don't look at this wound, pain becomes a constant companion. Interpreting suffering as the language of the soul changes everything. What seemed like punishment actually comes to offer direction. Suffering reveals paths to be traveled. And when you allow yourself to listen, you can transform your pain into the foundation of the deepest healing, because it's pain that forces the encounter with yourself. The responsibility is clear. Ignoring suffering is ignoring your own essence. Running from it is repeating personal abandonment. With courage, humility, and curiosity, truly listening to what pain has to say, you can finally find a place of peace and integrity, not because everything out there has been fixed, but because you've reconnected with who you really are. In the next stage, we'll see what that other side is like. What happens when you stop fighting against pain and start embracing it? True healing doesn't mean eliminating all suffering, but transforming it into living consciousness. That's what awaits you in the next chapter. After so many encounters and missed connections with yourself, there comes a moment when change happens. It's not noisy, it doesn't happen in a burst, but settles in slowly, like a soft light that fills the room without announcing its arrival. At this point, resistance diminishes, and for the first time, you feel a novel peace, the peace of being whole. And what, after all, is this wholeness? It's creating space within yourself for everything that is yours, including the pains, flaws, imperfections. It means abandoning the internal war, letting go of the myth of perfection, and accepting yourself with compassion. You begin to realize that anger, fear, sadness, shame have their place and their reason. When these aspects are recognized and embraced rather than expelled, suffering begins to lose its reason for existing. For Jung, this was the process of individuation, a path not to become exceptional, but genuinely you. It's the authenticity that is born from reconciliation, from embracing your own shadows. It's not simply finding yourself, but perceiving yourself fully. Only those who have the courage to revisit the past and rebuild their own ruins can, in fact, become whole. At this stage, your pain ceases to be a secret or cause for shame. It is no longer who you are, but a trail you needed to cross. Each challenge and each fall reveal that the real purpose of pain was always the same: to remove everything that was a facade and allow only what is truth to remain. And this truth is neither simple nor comfortable. It doesn't protect from vulnerability. On the contrary, it asks for courage to expose yourself, demands presence and real choices. Because now, after seeing your shadow, understanding pain, and feeling the strength of being authentic, you can no longer accept living on autopilot. You will clearly perceive who adds to your life and who drains you. You will stop settling for crumbs just to avoid confrontation. You will allow yourself to say no without guilt, and learn to say yes to yourself without hesitation. This transformation happens in silence, but its reach is profound. It's not the emergence of a new person, but the end of the betrayal against your own truth. Then you understand an essential message that no one ever told you. You didn't need perfection to deserve love. It was enough to accept yourself, stop abandoning yourself, realize that the peace you sought so much out there was latent, waiting to be recognized within you. Still, there is a risk. It's easy to settle after pain. When old patterns change and life aligns, the temptation to stagnate appears. But there is one more step, the step Jung considered indispensable. Because complete healing only exists when your own light transforms into contribution. What will you do with this self-knowledge? How will you live now that you're awake? This is what we'll talk about finally. The responsible choice to exist with intention, purpose, and consciousness. Now, reborn, life asks more of you. You can no longer pretend you don't know. You heard, felt, and stayed. This already places you among the rare ones who don't run from truth. Now comes the real choice. Repeat old patterns or finally take command of your own path. What you suffered, what was done to you, all of this matters less than what you choose to do with it all from now on. The pain that accompanied you for so long can transform into power. The emptiness that seemed impossible to fill can become fertile space for new meanings, and the traumas that limited you can serve as impulse for a more authentic life instead of being eternal prisons. But there is a fundamental truth. There's no going back in consciousness. Once you see, you can no longer pretend blindness. Ignorance no longer serves as shelter. You've been called to a different level, and living at this level requires commitment. The commitment not to abandon yourself, not to accept crumbs, not to hide behind old justifications. No one is completely ready, and that's okay. The essential thing is to choose daily to live with attention, honesty, and courage, embracing your emotions and, above all, moving from thought to action. Because all learning that doesn't become action is just another cycle of self-deception. Jung said, "Becoming whole is the task of a lifetime. Perhaps today was your beginning in this journey. Suddenly you understood. You weren't broken, you were rebuilding yourself. And your suffering wasn't condemnation, but a sign, an insistent call to return to your true inner home. Now tell me, what impacted you most in this experience? What truth touched deeply? Write below. Firm up this commitment to yourself and perhaps open doors for the healing of others. If this video moved you, don't let the change cool down. The next chapter of this journey is coming. I'll be waiting for you in the next video.